All right, we're at the top of the hour. Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Suzanne Carowin. I'm Vice President of Marketing Communications of NAFA National. Also run the Advisor Today side of the business. And we're delighted that we've expanded our brand. It's a very popular magazine that we give to. The print edition comes to just our members, so it's a special benefit of membership. But the Advisor Today blog, for which our guest speaker today also writes, actually goes out to a much larger audience than that, going close to 60,000 people. So please make sure you're subscribed to that if you're not getting that. And please, we would love to see you in NAFA membership to get the print edition. But with no further ado, we've expanded Advisor Today due to popularity to now include this webinar series of top speakers being able to provide just another benefit to the industry, as NAFA is wont to do. So with no further ado, I'm delighted that we are having a returning, very popular speaker, Dave Resseguie, join us today. And also let me note, if you have never seen Dave Resseguie speak, you can also note that on demand, we have his address that he's done in one of our past Performance Plus Purpose conferences, and that's also available in our product catalog for you to peruse. And also, if you happen to be in the Washington, D.C. area in the next couple of weeks, Dave Resseguie will be at the Greater Washington, D.C. Success Summit on April 26th. So with that, Dave, thank you so much for joining us, and I will go ahead and leave it to you.
Thanks, Suzanne. Hey, everybody. I am so fired up to be with y'all today. And I'll tell you, this is special for me because usually when I get invited to speak to NAFA and to a group of financial professionals, I'm typically asked to speak around prospecting and client acquisition strategy and the mindset and the psychology of influencing relationships. And when the team at NAFA reached out and said, hey, Dave, would you be willing and would you be excited to share some ideas around intentional gratitude? I got probably the biggest smile on my face. Today is all about you as at a human level. We are not really going to talk about ideas to help you build your planning practice, but we're going to talk about some ideas on how you can be filled with joy and gratitude on the inside. And in turn, I do believe that can significantly impact our ability to influence other people. So I'm pumped. Just so you know, from an expectation standpoint on a timeline, I'd imagine that we're going to spend about 45 minutes together, not a full 60. If there are questions that come up throughout the conversation today, feel free. I believe that chat box is open. You can feel free to type any questions in there, and I will carve out a few minutes at the end to talk through those. So today we're going to talk about this idea of intentional gratitude, right? Having gratitude, but being intentional to choose gratitude. And just so you know, a tiny bit about me, I've been married to Jennifer now for 12 years. We have our 8-year-old daughter, Charlotte, who we call Charlie. Chazzy's the 5.5-year-old that's sitting in my lap right there. We got our 2.5-year-old son, Cameron. The number one thing in my life that I'm most full of intentional gratitude for is this group that you see right here. So I'm just curious, and type it in the chat box. Have any of you on the call today, have you ever had the privilege of driving a Ferrari, riding in a Ferrari, or I'd even be curious, does anybody on the call even own a Ferrari? So I am seeing a couple things come through this chat box. I'm going to open it up. So somebody says, nope, I wish, not even close. So y'all, whenever, and I do say whenever you get the privilege, because it will come to you at some point. It's not a once in a lifetime opportunity. This can happen. You can rent one, you can borrow one. I hope you get this opportunity. In November of 2014, I had the privilege for the very first time in my life being able to sit in the driver's seat of a Ferrari. So this day, this Ferrari arrived to downtown Fort Lauderdale. Headquarters or home base for the Resseguie family is Broward County. We live in the suburbs of Fort Lauderdale. And I used to work with a Fortune 500 financial planning firm in downtown. And let me flash back for a second. In October of 2014, I was in the Chicagoland area, the suburbs of Chicago. It's technically Schaumburg, Illinois. And I was at a leadership conference for a major mutual insurance company that I was with. And I was there with the managing partner that I essentially was the chief development officer for. I worked hand in hand with Kevin, who was the managing partner for a firm headquartered here in South Florida. And what we did is we flew up to the Chicagoland area a few days early because we had a study group of about 7 managing partners and their right-hand development people. And we met for about 2 days. And what we would do is we'd rent a hotel conference room, and we'd spend pretty much all morning like opening up the hoods of each of our businesses and our firms. And we would talk everything related to helping our financial professionals. We would talk about recruiting strategies. We'd talk about development strategies. We'd talk about leadership development. And we would make each other better by cross-pollinating ideas. And then in the afternoons, we'd all have kind of some personal time. And then in the evenings of this study group, we would all go out and do something social. And it was usually we'd go out for a meal and we'd just talk and build relationship. So in October of 2014, there's about 7 managing partners and about 7 of their right-hand development people. So a group of about 14 of us. And we would do this retreat together. And we had dinner one evening at a Capitol Grill. And our dinner, Kevin and I were sitting across from a managing partner in upstate New York, from Albany, New York. And this managing partner originally is from Italy. So immediately, me sitting across from this gentleman, Alex, there was some rapport because my family ancestry, part of it comes from Italy. And also I grew up since I was 5 years old in upstate New York. So Alex and I hit it off as upstate New Yorkers, and he's just a really cool person. And this white Ferrari that you see here is actually owned by Alex. So we're having a nice conversation, and Alex, he captures everybody's attention because he starts talking about his Ferrari. And these words come out of his mouth. I never thought I'd hear these words come out of anyone's mouth ever. He said, "Y'all, can I tell you about the challenges of owning my Ferrari?" And at this point, this is 2014, so I guess I'm 29 years old. I'm 37 now. And I'm scratching my head thinking, wait a second. Challenges of owning a Ferrari? So I stopped everybody and I said, "Hey, Alex, hold on a second. Before you start telling us about the challenges of owning your Ferrari, can you tell us some of the benefits? Because it seems like it would be really awesome." So he's like, "Yeah, well, it's so cool. It's powerful. It drives fast. Feels super luxury. In a sense, you feel a little bit more confident driving it." And he's like, "In my area of upstate New York, not too many people have Ferraris. So when you pull up to a stoplight, you kind of feel like everybody's looking at you. And as a leader in our industry, that's not a bad thing necessarily." And he said, but the challenge, he kept going to the challenge. He's like, "The challenge of owning a Ferrari in upstate New York is a Ferrari has to run. A Ferrari, the engine needs to run on a regular basis." So he said, in upstate New York, pretty much 6 months out of the year, what do you have on the ground? You have snow or you have salt on the roads to make the roads drivable, or there's dirt to like make the roads a little bit more easily have better traction. So he said, "I have to drive my Ferrari. And I have to take it out of my garage. I have to drive it. And then all the salt and the mud and the snow comes up on it. So I've got to wash it before I put it back in my garage." And he's talking about all these, I have to do this with my Ferrari. And I'm still like crazy confused that this is even happening in our conversation. And he said, it really becomes more hassle than it's worth. So he looked at Kevin and me and he said, "I have an idea. Why don't I ship it all down to you guys in South Florida? And you can have it for like the next 4 or 5 months. You can have it for all of November, December, January, and February. And then in the month of March, my family's going to head down to South Florida for spring break with the kids. And we'll pick it up from you all and we'll just drive it back up to New York for the spring months." So we look at Alex and we're thinking, you are such a jerk, dude. Now you're just rubbing in the fact that you own a Ferrari. Exactly, John, a snowbird Ferrari. How sweet is that? But we think he's joking. And we're getting kind of like frustrated because like, man, now you're just toying with us. You're messing around. And he said, no, really, I'm serious. You'd be doing me a favor. And he said, "Here's what you could do. On the weekends, you could even use it. The insurance covers any driver. So you can use it at your firm for, office competitions. Maybe there's an advisor that submits a significant amount of business, or they report it, or they gather a certain amount of AUM, or, whatever it is, you could use it to reward different people and let a different person use it every weekend." And he was serious. So we said, "All right, well, what's the catch?" And he said, "Well, I'm not going to give it to you for free. I want you to make the monthly payments on this thing." He said, "The monthly payments are $3,000 a month." So we're looking at each other like, all right, $12,000 to have a Ferrari for 4 months. And this isn't my decision, so I'm all for it because I'm not the one that's going to be paying for it. It's going to be my buddy Kevin. Alex said, I'll make a deal with you. I'll go 50-50. So 1,500 a month for 4 months, $6,000, you can have the Ferrari for the next 4 months. So at that point, we have this decision to make. Do we spend, $6,000 to have a Ferrari for 4 months? And in hindsight, like, I don't care who you are or what your financial position is. You do everything you can to make that answer be yes, because having a Ferrari for 4 months is just too awesome. So Kevin said, 100% I'm in. If you're serious, let's do it. Let's make it happen. So we make it happen. And this is the day that the Ferrari shows up at our office in downtown Fort Lauderdale. So I said to Kev, I said, listen, I got to drive this thing. So I've never driven one. I just want to see what this is like. But this is in downtown Fort Lauderdale. So I really can't let the thing loose and see what it does. My 5-year wedding anniversary was coming up in January of 2015. So 2 months after this Ferrari shows up at our office. And I look at Kev in as much humble curiosity and as much begging as I could. I'm like, hey, Kev, I got to have that thing the weekend of my anniversary. What do you need me to do? I'll do whatever it takes, but can I have that the weekend of my anniversary? Jennifer she would love that. It'd be so much fun. And I won't even tell her, I'll just surprise her. And he said, done, you can have it. For sure, let's just get your name on the list and we'll make sure nobody has it that weekend. So I had this Ferrari for 3 days. I could drive it. And Alex even encouraged us. He's like, let the thing loose, enjoy this thing. So be safe with it, but have some fun with it. So where I live right now is Coral Springs, Florida. You can see that right here on the map, kind of up here. Parkland is where that, the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas school shooting was. That's Parkland. So right across this major highway from me. And if you take this one highway, 595, if you take that east, maybe, 20 minutes, you'll go right into the Atlantic Ocean. And then you've got 2 other major highways. You got 95 north and south. That goes all the way up to Maine and all the way down to South Miami. Next to that, you've got 91, which is the Florida Turnpike. So they just run parallel to each other. But 91, the Turnpike, you got to pay. The roads are a little bit more smooth. And then you got this 869, which is the Sawgrass Expressway. And the reason you don't see any roads over here is because this is all the Florida Everglades. So it's not going to be developed because we need that for the ecosystem down here. So I have a Ferrari for 3 days and I've got 3 major highways that kind of do this. So y'all, it's as if I've got the Indianapolis 500 in my backyard because this is a 25-mile stretch of road and I've got a Ferrari. So I let that thing loose. I did 3 laps. 2 of them I drove, and 1 of them I let my father-in-law Serge drive. And it was just unbelievable. And that weekend I decided, you know what, I'm going to do whatever it takes to buy a Ferrari. I thought to myself, I need to convince Jennifer. I think she'll be on board with it because she really enjoyed it when we had it for the weekend. But how in the world am I going to sell her on this? So I decided that I wanted to get a yellow Ferrari. I'm going to tell you why I wanted to get a yellow one in a second. And the one that I wanted, I really love the body style of this 488 GTB. So I kind of hate saying base price on a Ferrari is $245, but base price on this thing's about $250. And if you've ever considered buying a Ferrari before, you can't just buy a Ferrari brand new. You have to own a Ferrari and it's work your way into being able to buy one brand new. So when I say I wanted this one, when I worked myself up to getting this one, I wanted there to be I don't know, less than a mile on this thing, literally just the tiny bit that they drove it to get it up on the truck to deliver it to the house. So I wanted to get this yellow Ferrari. And I thought, you know what, how about I do this? What if I go to Jennifer and I say, hey, babe, you really love the Ferrari, right? It was really fun. We should get one of those. But here's the thing, I've really thought through this. Let's work hard for it. And let's make an agreement that we'll get one only when we can pay cash. And not only the fact that we pay cash for it, so we're talking $250,000, we pay cash plus all of our other high priority planning is done. We're saving for the kids' college, we're saving for their education and our retirement, and we've in our home, and every bit of our normal monthly expenses is great and everything's good. but let's just save up for it. And she said, listen, like if we pay cash and all of our other priorities are locked and loaded, okay. I mean, yeah, it was fun. And if you really want it, we'll get it. Now, here's why I wanted to get a yellow one. The reason I wanted to get a yellow Ferrari is because for years of my career, I used to make a commute to downtown Miami, which is where you see that pinpoint. My office was on Biscayne Bay, which is like right in the heart of downtown, where like the Miami Heat basketball arena is there, Royal Caribbean docks their cruise ships right there. All the like big concerts in the amphitheater happen there. And it's like the section where you would take the bridge to go over to South Beach. So a lot of like real big business happening. But I lived at that point in my life in this town called Weston. So I had to drive 75 north to 595 east to 95 south every single day, there and back. With zero traffic, this is a 45-minute commute. With moderate traffic each way, this becomes an hour and 15 to an hour and a half. And with heavy traffic, this could be 2 hours each direction, like with accidents and real significant traffic. So every day, guaranteed, I'm in my car an hour and a half. But most days it was like 2.5, 3 hours. And I worked with a coach for probably 7, 8 years of my career. I don't actively work with John right now. I would still say John is my coach. And I have other coaches that I work with at this point. But John, I worked with for 8 years. And the way John and I work together is every other week, we would just do a 30-minute call. And he was really more, I don't know, I kind of view John as like a tax deductible psychologist in a way. Like he got in my head and helped me like process through everything that I was going through. And there was a day where we were on a call, and the first question that John asks me on every one of our coaching calls is he says, hey, Dave, before we dive in, just out of curiosity, what's got your attention that would be relevant and impactful for us to talk about? And I love that he starts out our conversations that way, because then we can just go wherever I really want to go in the moment. And what I said to him was, I said, John, listen, like, I know at some point throughout today's conversation, you're going to help me reframe my thinking, and you're going to help me start seeing the positives, and you're going to help me look for the things that are good. But I'm really kind of frustrated right now. Like I said, John, I'll be honest with you. Like I'm really ticked off right now, and a lot of things are not going well. And I need to open up. And if I don't open up to you, I'm probably just going to unnecessarily take out my frustration on somebody else that doesn't deserve it. So I just need to process. So you can help me be positive about this, but can I just vent for a little bit, because I got to just vent. And he's like, go for it. So for about 28 minutes, I just go off. I don't remember to this day, like what I was upset about. Maybe I had a massive reversal. Maybe I got a ton of rejection that week. Maybe I was going through family stuff. I don't remember to this day what was going on, but I was really pissed off. I hope I can say pissed off on a call like this. So I was just frustrated. So for 28 minutes, we're talking through it, and he kind of interrupts me 28 minutes in, and he said, hey Dave, I've got another call coming up. I already let them know I'm running about 5 behind. But let me ask you, does it help just being able to talk through this? And I said, yeah, it helps a lot. And he said, Dave, I got a question for you. I'm going to ask you all the same question. You could even type in your answers in the chat box if you want. Here's the question. He said, Dave, in your commute from Weston to Miami, and the hour and a half, 2 hours that you spend every day, he said, taxi cabs, they don't count. Okay. And school buses don't count. He said, how often do you see yellow cars? So let me ask you, I mean, in your community, in the driving that you do, some of us are back to like our full schedule of driving. Others of us, it looks different. But when you're driving, how often do you see yellow cars? No cabs, no school buses included. So one answer came in, almost never, right? And that was what I said to John. I said, you know what? Every once in a while, but hardly ever. Not really all that often. He said, okay. He said, Dave, I got a homework assignment for you. Our next call is in 2 weeks. For the next 2 weeks, every time that you see a yellow car, not a cab, not a school bus, but any other type of yellow car, out loud, I want you to say yellow. Will you do it? And I said, sure, I'll do it. So y'all, the ride home from Miami that day, what do you think I see? I saw a yellow car. So I said yellow. And I'm like, this is kind of nuts. Like, okay, whatever. The ride in the next day, I see 1 or 2. Yellow, yellow. The ride home, I see 2 or 3. Yellow, yellow, yellow. Then it became 3 or 4 each commute. And then it was 4 or 5. Y'all, I kid you not, it got to a point where each direction I was seeing like 8 or 9 yellow cars. So on a daily basis, I'm seeing like 16, 18, 20 yellow cars. Now, maybe a little bit more common, and I'll admit this for sure, like maybe a little bit more common in South Florida, because a lot of times yellow cars happen to be convertibles and it's pretty much sunny all year round. So you can drive exotic cars. And there's the Porsche 911 turbos and there's the Lamborghinis, but there's also, like there's the Jeep Rubicon Wranglers and there's the Volkswagen Beetles and there's the Hummers and like all these yellow cars that like, yeah, holy cow, right? Robert, exactly. The thought was put into your mind and then you were aware when before I wasn't. Exactly right. So 2 weeks later, we get on our coaching call and John says, hey, Dave, before we dive into whatever's got your attention today, I got a question for you. In our last call, I gave you a homework assignment. Did you do it? Now, y'all, I'm a New Yorker, but I'm an upstate New Yorker. My mother's from Queens. My dad's from Jersey. And like, if you get in my face about something, I have an attitude. Now, John wasn't getting in my face, but he asked me, I gave you a homework assignment. Did you do it? So I get a little like pushy with him. I'm like, bro, I told you I would. Of course I did. And he's like, well, slow down, Tiger. Like, what did you experience? And I said, John, you're not going to believe this. I'm seeing yellow cars all over the place. I cannot stop seeing yellow cars. I'm like, John, I'm seeing 8 or 9 of these each direction. I'm seeing 15, 20 yellow cars every single day. And he said, well, what did you learn by doing the exercise? And I said, what I learned is similar to what Robert shared in that chat box. What I learned is I always knew yellow cars existed. I knew they're out there, but they just kind of get lost in the backdrop of all like the normal colored cars, right? Normally there's a lot of black cars and there's white cars and there's silvers and there's grays and there's navies and there's reds. And like, there's just a normal colored car, right? But I said, the yellows typically get lost behind all the normal cars. But when I start acknowledging them out loud, I bring them to the forefront of my mind and now I'm looking for them and I start seeing them all over the place. And he said, okay, that's pretty good. That's interesting. He said, Dave, what's the transferability of that exercise? And how does that relate to the conversation we had 2 weeks ago where you were really frustrated? You were pretty negative. And he said, Dave, you're not typically like that. And everybody's entitled to get upset for sure. And so no shame, but like, what did you really learn? I said, here's what I learned. Anybody out there that is doing their best to create something exceptional, right? I'm an entrepreneur. You're an entrepreneur. Now, my business is different than yours now. I'm a trainer, I'm a speaker, I'm a coach. Like, that's all I do now. But we're like, every single day, we're pushing this boulder up a hill, trying to create something amazing. And I said, anybody that's trying to create something awesome, we face a ton of adversity. There's a ton of challenge. There's a ton of rejection. There's all this straining and striving and pushing. And I'm like, John, it gets overwhelming at times. And if I'm not looking for the things in my life that are going really well, and I'm not looking for the positives, all I see is the frustration and the challenge and the adversity and the negativity. I said, but John, when I take time to see the yellow in my life, when I take time to acknowledge those things in my life that I have, that I can be full of intentional gratitude for, I start seeing those things more and more. I start seeing them all over the place. They start overtaking all the normal challenges of life. So I said, John, I just need to see more of the yellow. I need to be more full of intentional gratitude. He said, Dave, that's an amazing lesson. Now, John knew what he was doing with me in that moment. He knew that he wanted to bring me to a place where he can put a thought into my mind that I wasn't aware of previously, and now I can start being aware of it. I can start looking for the things that I'm full of gratitude for, right? So that's why I wanted to get a yellow car, period. I wanted the Ferrari because I had the experience of driving a Ferrari. So December 9th, 2016, y'all, in our industry and in our businesses, yeah, you can literally manifest. I believe in the law of attraction. I believe you can get whatever you expect in life, because when you expect awesome things to happen, that expectation is followed by massive action to create an outcome, right? So December 9th, 2016, this thing shows up at our doorstep, less than a mile on it. And many of you don't know me. Some of you might. Maybe we're connected on social media or things, but just I'll give you a little bit of insight into my heart here. This has nothing to do with the material possession of a car. In reality, I don't think that matters. What it has to do is every time I look at this car, every time I see the yellow, I think every single day, in this moment, what am I most full of intentional gratitude for? This is the one that showed up at the house. They're actually, it says in stock there, but they don't even manufacture this anymore. I have it with me. I brought it for today. So this is the one right here that showed up. Y'all can see it. And it sits like down there on my bookshelf. And I keep it behind me for every one of my Zoom calls and when I'm working here in the office, in the home office. And every time I look at this thing, you know, it's not too often that I lift it up and touch it, but every time I look at that thing, I think about what I'm full of intentional gratitude for. I see the yellow in my life. All right. So everybody asks me at that point, Dave, okay, do you really own a Ferrari or is it just a toy? It's just the model toy. I don't own a Ferrari. I have an Audi Q7 for those of you that want to know, and it's black. It's not even yellow, but I do own that yellow Ferrari. So here's my encouragement. Y'all, at a heart level, I have no clue what you're going through today. You might have had a ton of adversity hit you this morning. You might be going through the fullness of life and everything in your business and your families and your parenting with your parents, challenges with significant others, health stuff. There might be a lot of normal day-to-day challenge that you're going through. But what I want to do and what I feel NAFA tapped my shoulder to do today is to encourage us with a couple of practical ideas on how we can all choose on a very regular basis to be full of intentional gratitude. A mentor of mine, Chuck, used to say this all the time, and maybe he quoted somebody by saying this. I'll give credit to Chuck for this. He said, if you treat the majority of people like they're hurting, you're going to be treating a majority of the people correctly. So I want to give you all 4 simple ideas, tactical ideas on how you can be more full of intentional gratitude and also how you can bless others with your personal intentional gratitude. So number 1, actually acknowledge the yellow cars on a very real basis. Every time when you're driving, you see a yellow car, say yellow, but ask yourself in this very moment, what is one thing that I'm full of intentional gratitude for? Y'all, I can't stress this enough. Sometimes I'll get messages. Actually, it's pretty often I get messages from friends or clients or just people that I know in the industry, and they'll shoot me a text and it'll be a picture of a yellow car. And they'll say to me, hey, thought of you today. And I may be flattered that people think of me, and it certainly helps us, I think, with branding, because people see yellow cars and they think of us, but that's not why it's there at all. Please, from the bottom of my heart, that's not why it's there. Here's why it is. When they send that to me, my response is, hey, cool, but in this very moment, what's one thing that you are most full of intentional gratitude for? Y'all are going to start seeing yellow cars. You could be in downtown Chicago. You could be in Manhattan. You could be in rural Iowa. Like you could be anywhere, but you will see them every once in a while. We have, being a Florida resident, we have annual passes to Disney, and Disney World for us is about 4 hours away. So when we drive up to Disney, a game that we get to play with our kids, and again, you saw how old they were. They're young kids. So like they're like, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? So we want to give them things to be doing. We see yellow cars all the time, and the kids say, Daddy, look at yellow car. Mommy, look at yellow car. And we ask our kids, hey, what's one thing right now that you're really grateful for? What's one thing that, with a child, what's one thing that makes you happy? What's one thing that's bringing you joy right now? And with a kid, we don't do it every single time. And even yourself, if you're seeing 40 of them a day, you might not do that every single time. But when you see a yellow car, ask yourself in this very moment, what's one thing, just one thing that I'm most full of intentional gratitude for? And give yourself permission to sometimes go a little bit deeper than just the normal stuff. I know the normal stuff probably is the most important, right? Your health, your loved ones, the health of your loved ones, right? The fact that we're breathing, right? Our homes and our possessions and all that, our financial security, and all of that's awesome. But even go deeper, peel back the layer of the onion of what are you full of intentional gratitude for, and get real deep with it. It's gonna bless you. I promise it will bless you by doing that. Here's the second thing. Make a list. Y'all, common sense isn't always common practice. I know this is like, seriously, Dave, like just make a list? Yeah. Make a list. You wouldn't believe how many people don't take time to do this on a very regular basis. Sit down with a piece of paper and a pen and physically write out a list of, and this says 20 things that you're grateful for right now. It could be 10 things, it could be 20, it could be as many as you can list out. And I'm not going to say like it has to be an actual sheet of paper and a pen, but I will tell you, when you take out a pen and an actual sheet of paper, as opposed to just typing it out in the notes of your phone or on your laptop, when you actually physically put pen to paper, at least for me, all I can say is for me, because I can only speak from my experience, there's just something that resonates a little bit more deeply when that pen hits the sheet of paper. It's just special. Make a list. Here's one thing that I do when I'm making a list. Every quarter, I do what I refer to as the blended life. I think any coach out there, and I view myself more as a trainer and a speaker, but I do some coaching. And when I coach clients one-on-one, I walk them through this process. And it's a process that I use where at the end of every quarter, so I just did this about a week and a half ago, I'll go away on a mini retreat by myself, and I'll take time to do what I'll call quarterly rejoicing, reflecting, and reblending. And the first part of this process is I want to take time to rejoice. I look back at the last 3 months and I think about 8 areas of my life. It's the 8 areas that you see kind of on this like New York style pizza, if you will. You know, I think about my family. I think about my friendships and my career. I think about my financial life. I think about educationally, what are the things that I'm learning? I'll think about my spiritual life, or whatever you do to have a sense of inner peace. For a lot of people, that might be their faith. Other people, that might be their community impact, community service, whatever resonates with you there. My health and my fitness, my overall nutrition, I think about that. And I think about socially and culturally the things that we're doing for fun in our life. And I look back at the last 3 months. I'll pull out my phone and I look at the photos in my camera roll. And I'll ask myself, what are the things that I was able to do, or the things that I was blessed to be a part of? What were the biggest wins in my life that I'm grateful for, that I can rejoice that they were present in my life over the last 3 months? And I take some time to celebrate. And for me personally, I have a yellow journal. It's a gratitude journal. Okay, now it's mainly yellow cars that I think about. I don't have everything yellow, but I have a yellow journal. And the only thing that I write in this journal, you can see, and I bought this one at the beginning of the last calendar year. The only thing that I write in this journal is each page has just 1 quarter's worth of things that I'm grateful for. And I write with really small print. But this was on April 1st of 2022. I went to the Breakers, which is a nice hotel down here in South Florida. And I looked back and I thought, I'm grateful for a client of mine hit top advisors for new advisors in their firm, in their entire company, actually. I had breakfast with my buddy Josh. I brought on, this looks like it's about 9 new clients, and I listed them out by name. I was able to do a presentation for the college that I was a part of. I was invited to be on the alumni board of my college, and I had my first alumni board meeting. I was able to spend some time with the president. I talk about, not the president of the United States, the president of the college. I was able to do some special things with the family. We were able to go on some trips, and I just took that time. I took the time to celebrate and to rejoice and make a list, pen to paper, of things in my life that I'm deeply full of intentional gratitude for. Regardless of where you're at in this very moment, you could be going through some really heavy stuff and you feel burdened, you feel a ton of weight on your shoulders, or you feel a ton of pressure because you I don't know, maybe like sales haven't come through recently as much as you want, or maybe you did have a massive reversal, or maybe somebody canceled their physical this morning. It was for a, pretty large policy. I mean, I don't know what it is, but when you take the time to write it out, it's really special. Y'all, I do see a couple things coming in the chat box. I'm gonna respond and look at those in a few minutes, all right? I promise I won't miss those. So number 3, for intentional gratitude, write a handwritten note. Practically look back at your calendar over the last 30 days and ask yourself, who are people that you feel that you've been blessed to have invested time with them? Take out a note card, write a handwritten note to those individuals, and just let them know that you valued the time that you spent with them, right? Let them know something you appreciated about them. This means so much to me that I won't show you my desk, but like right now I have kind of like a little like corner table on top of my desk so I can have a standing desk because I prefer to stand while we're doing this. But in my drawer to the left of me where I'm sitting, I've got these boxes of note cards. Now I use Moo note cards. Now listen, y'all, Moo or anybody else that I've referenced in this call, nobody pays me to promote them. So there's no shame. I wish they did. That would be awesome. But I just like these. My marketing team turned me on to them. And I've got these note cards. It's got our logo on the side and it's got just our information. It's kind of like a thank you note. But for me, I just like having intentional gratitude up there. You all can use intentional gratitude. That's not no intellectual property on that. Like you can start using that if you want. And then y'all, the most important thing, and I think the best investment that we can make is stamps, right? Like literally in this top drawer, I think I got 4 left, right? Just books of stamps, right? The power of putting pen to paper and telling somebody something like this, like, hey, I was reflecting back on people that I was blessed to have invested time with in the month of March. And when I saw your name come up on my calendar as I was doing my monthly reflection, I felt such a sense of gratitude for the time we invested together. I left our conversation so fired up about who you are and about why you're doing what you're doing. And I feel so humbled and grateful to just be a small part of your overall journey. Thanks so much for the conversation. Really looking forward to staying in touch with you. I hope you have an awesome April. Now, y'all, I give a lot of scripts to financial professionals about how to build their business. I can't really give you a script for a handwritten note, okay? Like I just be sincere from the bottom of your heart. What do you feel led and compelled to tell somebody about what you appreciated about them? I mean, it's New York Mets baseball. I know it's baseball right now, but the Mets are off to a good start, right? They're 3-1. I think we're maybe tied for first in the NL East. I know we're only 4 games in, but I believe we're going to win the series this year. Sorry if you're a Nationals fan well, definitely sorry if you're a Nationals fan because we whooped you all this weekend. And we got in some fights too. It was crazy. So, but here's the deal. There's times where I will think of friends of mine that are passionate Mets fans, and they're prospective clients of mine as well. They might be general agents or CEOs of financial planning firms. They might just be great people. And I'll say, hey, listen, I was watching the games with my dad this weekend. I thought of you. I hope we have an awesome season. Man, it would be so fun to spend some time at a game together. But even that aside, it was awesome just having you pop into my mind because I'm so grateful for you. And I don't even know if you know that. And then I tell them things like if you're friends with people on social media, on Facebook, or you follow them on Instagram or LinkedIn or any other site that you use, and you see a picture pop up of them investing time with their family at a dinner or on a vacation to Mexico or whatever they're doing. You know, there's times where I'll send somebody a note and I'll just say, hey, listen, I saw a picture pop up of you and the kids and you're on the trip in San Francisco. And I just have to tell you, I admire so much the way that you parent your kids and how engaged you are, or at least that you seem to me to be when you're with them. And it's just an exceptional example to me to be as great of a parent that I can be. Thanks so much for your leadership, not only in the industry, but in the life of your family. I hope you're awesome. I hope you have an amazing April. I just wanted to tell you, I thought of you and I hope you're doing awesome. Things like that. Like I can't even tell you how much you're going to feel this like awesome hit of positivity in your mind and in your heart. But think about the ripple effect and the impact that you can have in putting gratitude to somebody else just by telling them what you're grateful for them. Final thing. I told you there were 4 things, so I'll give you the final one. 4th, send a personalized video. Now, as I say this, be cautious with your compliance department in your local firm. I typically text message these videos to people, but as a coach and a speaker and as a trainer, I'm not regulated the way you are. You could email this, and I'm not saying talk about recommendations or even working together. Here's what I am saying. Send a personalized video. Think about people that you feel blessed to that have invested time with them recently. Take out your cell phone, open up your camera, turn it to video, turn it to selfie mode. It doesn't matter where you are. Make sure I take that back. Make sure you're somewhere that at least the audio can pick up so they hear what you're saying. But it doesn't matter what your backdrop is. You could do it in a nice location. You could do it when you're sitting in a lobby waiting for somebody to come out and meet with you, right? But record a 30 to 60-second video. Look in the camera. Just tell them what you're grateful for about them. I mean, it could be the same type of thing. There's a friend of mine out in Phoenix, Arizona, As a father of 3 boys that are all kind of adults now, but young adults. And there's a few people in my life, there's a few people in my life rather, that have really inspired me to be a better father and just to really be intentional with my kids. And I'll change this individual's name. I'll call him Brian. And I'll say, hey, Brian, hey, man, I just saw the picture that you put up of the boys and you in the city watching the Yanks play in the Bronx. And although I hate everything about the Yanks, I just had to tell you, dude, it was so awesome. And I'm just looking at the camera, speaking from my heart to theirs. Now, in a compliance regulated environment, have a sit down with your compliance officer and say, hey, if I send you this video and you watch it and you see that it's just purely an innocent personal message, can I send that? They're going to let you. I would think they'll let you. You could even send it via email. And in the subject line of the email, it could say personalized video I recorded just for you. And you could say, hey, Brian, hope you're awesome. Hey, I recorded a 45-second video specifically for you because I wanted to tell you something that I appreciated about a post that you just put up. Hope you're awesome. Have an awesome afternoon. And then it's documented and it's tracked that there's a way to prove exactly what you said in that message, okay? Send a personalized video. So those 4 things, and certainly, y'all, there could be plenty of other things, but at a very practical level, acknowledge the yellow cars. When you see a yellow car, a physical yellow car, even if you're at Walgreens or CVS or your local pharmacy and you see a tiny little yellow car on the shelf, because they're going to have them, acknowledge what's one thing in your life in that very moment that you're full of intentional gratitude for. Make a list. Write down the things that you're grateful for. Like count your blessings. Think about them, right? Like experience gratitude. Write a handwritten note. Tell somebody else what you're grateful for about them. And by doing that, gratitude just rises to the surface for you. And then send a personalized video. So here's what I'd love to do. I'm going to go over to the chat box just to see what came through. I'm going to stop share. I think there were a couple of things. And if there are any questions, now would be the time. My plan was to end right about Eastern Standard Time, 1:45. So we still got 3 minutes. I want to respond to these. And if there's any other questions or thoughts, feel free to type them in. And then we'll adjourn once we're kind of done with this. So Robert said the old school learning, see it, say it, write it, and repeat works, especially with people with language-based learning disabilities. Typing is not the same. Love that. Yep, for sure. Great idea. But the first yellow car that you see, you'd be grateful that your car isn't yellow. That's so funny. Attitude is altitude and gratitude gives magnitude. That's awesome. I love that. Attitude is altitude and gratitude gives magnitude. John, that's awesome. I love that. Maybe I've heard that before, but I haven't heard that in a while, so I love it. And then Suzanne, thanks for commenting the Moo Lux note cards. So it's great quality. One of the things that I do love about it, and again, they don't give me anything for promoting them, it's like super thick paper. And the reason I even did these, my marketing team suggested, I work with a marketing team up in the Cincinnati, Ohio area, but there's a book called Giftology by a guy named John Rulin. I think John's becoming real popular within the financial planning world because he does a lot of like coaching with financial planners. So John Rulin is the #1 salesperson for Cutco, like the knives. And he wrote a book called Giftology. It's an awesome, this was my favorite book of 2019. I've read sections of it multiple times, and I've actually hired John occasionally to do some like gifting for us. It's more marketing. It's not actually like total gifting. Seth said, get the book. It's incredible. It is. John's a buddy of mine. So, and he doesn't pay me anything to promote him either. Okay. But what he does for his handwritten notes is he actually uses stainless steel. There's companies that manufacture stainless steel, like stationery or handwritten note cards, and he'll use a Sharpie marker because there's that wow effect. Like, holy, I don't even want to throw this away. This is so special. And I want for people to at least feel like, wow, like this is just cool that Dave thought so highly of us. And the beauty about getting a handwritten note is most people ask themselves, like, when was the last time anybody thought to write me a handwritten note other than maybe a family member? Man, Dave must really value our friendship and our relationship. This is special. I like him. So, y'all, I love being with y'all. If there is ever anything that I can do to add value, you can certainly feel free, connect with us. I typically will accept on LinkedIn. I am on Facebook. I have an Instagram. I don't use Instagram, but if you connect with us on LinkedIn, I'd be happy to add value to your life there. And feel free to reach out if there's anything we can ever do to help. So with that, it's going to turn 1:45, right the time that we wanted. I'll stay on for another 2-3 minutes just as everybody kind of exits. And if anybody wants to stay on to ask a question or two, you can. Just a heads up, those questions are going to be recorded because the recording will end once we end. But if you want to, I'll stay on. And for those of you that found value just in this time, awesome being with y'all, and we're adjourned. So somebody asked, and I'll just hit these questions as they come, but feel free, you can head out if you want to. So what's the 4:23 a.m. on the board? So by the end of the year, I want to consistently be up and doing my morning routine at 4:23 a.m. The reason for the 4:23 and not 4:30 is two things. Number one, 4:23, when you total up 4, 2, and 3, you get the number 9. 9 is my favorite number because my floor in college that I was the RA on was Colby 9. We were the K9s. So I like when things add up to 9. And the reason for 4:23 is my kids typically get up around 6:30, usually 6:30, but the youngest, who's 2.5, he's been getting up at 6 recently. So that gives like a solid 90 minutes. I'm not currently doing that. But by the end of the year, I want that time, because that gives me a solid 90 minutes. And 90 minutes for me lets me do the things in the morning that are important to me. So that everything from, there's an acronym called Life Savers by a guy, Hal Elrod. He wrote The Miracle Morning. So silence, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, and scribing. It's just some things that I like doing in the morning. So Robert said, glad to watch this and get reinforced that the personal versus the technology touch is still the better way to go. Anybody can send a text or a post. It takes real effort to call somebody and wish them a happy birthday. In my opinion, also, I know everybody's entitled to their belief on it, but yeah, I think that personal touch is, people still crave it at a human level. So for sure. So listen, y'all, again, I'll stay on for another 2-3 minutes. If I see stuff coming in, it would have to come in through the chat box, because I don't think with a webinar setup, you're able to like unmute yourself. So if I see any come in, I'll answer them. I'll give it till about 1:50 Eastern. And then if it's 1:50 Eastern and nothing's coming through, I'll pop off. But what are the other things on the board? Okay, cool. So at Shepherd is just my personal mission statement. Please, nobody take offense to this. It's just a personal mission statement, is to shepherd the flock of God in the financial planning world. So I put that up there to remind me to shepherd people. Medium 47, when I want to fit comfortably and confidently into a medium 47 brand t-shirt. I've had times where I have, even recently, but I currently don't fit comfortably and confidently into a medium. I love 47 brand t-shirts. So what that means for me is just my health and my physical fitness commitment. For me to get there, it typically requires about 170 to 175 pounds. So a reminder to get healthy when I need to get healthy, or remain and stay consistently healthy when I'm there. The Rolex, man, I could go for like an hour on this, but I've got a picture of a Submariner date and time, obviously time because it's a watch, but the Submariner date, it's like a $9,000 watch. Not that anybody's paid attention, but like, I don't even wear watches. I don't really care much about watches. And for that matter, I don't really care too much about like luxury, much of anything, but I've always wanted a Rolex. I made a promise to myself that I would only allow myself to buy myself a Rolex when we give away 20% of our top line income as the Resseguie group. Philanthropy is important to us. So my entire vision, my vision statement is to be blessed so that we can bless others. So we want to give away 20% of our top line. And also that has to cross a threshold. So there's a number that needs to be given away. We came really close last year. But I'll allow myself, we could go buy it. I think anybody can work to go buy a Rolex, right? It's not a Ferrari, but it's not cheap at all. But I'm not going to buy it until we do that. And I really love knowing that my kids can grow up seeing daddy wear it. And I want to be able to remind them it's not about what we've been able to create from a wealth perspective. This reminds daddy every day what we've been able to do to bless other people from a financial assistance perspective. And then when the kids graduate college, I'd love to be able to give, I think, my watch to my boys, and I'll have something special for Charlie. And I want to be able to give it to the kids as a way to remind them. This doesn't mean that we've been blessed. It means we've been blessed so that we can bless others. So hashtag so that is my mantra there. And then the complete three is I'm really good at starting books. I'm awesome at starting books. I'm not always awesome at finishing them for a lot of reasons. I want to, every quarter, I want to complete 3 books. So that just reminds us of all of our vision. So a couple other things that were here. So other things on the board. Thanks, Dave. Grateful for you. Richard, appreciate it. John, 47 more years till the Mets win the series. Come on, dude. That hurts. And you might be right, though. So I don't know. I hope not. Mike, great message, Dave. Thanks for sharing the experiences. Bless you. Appreciate it. Awesome. And Suzanne, love that. So cool. It is 1:50, so I'll keep staying on if any come in, but feel free. You can log off if you want to. It's not August when they it's not August when they collapse. They always tend to, like, that second half of the season that's critically important. They tend to fall off. So, all right. Listen, if there are other questions, you can feel free to reach out directly to me. I'm happy to answer anything. But yeah, Suzanne, thanks everybody for joining. And Suzanne and the rest of the team at NAFA, thanks for the invite. I'm always in your corner. Super grateful for y'all. So great being with everybody. Hope you have an awesome day today. Have an awesome week. All right, we'll see you soon.